your backline by bouncing those blades through. She's also shown that she's great at cutting down these tanks. So Sejuani Poppy, great, you're tanky, but you're going up against one of the best tank buster AD carries in the game currently. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. Other than that as well, the backline access that V3 has here with that Wukong is very, very dangerous. We've seen it before. Wukong can get into your back. He can burst your carries very quickly. Both Victor and Zeri, neither of them are particular tanky come the mid game. So there's an option there for Unica. And then, of course, the Talia. It's not quite the Swain I had hoped for here in terms of peeling for that backline here, Echo. But what Talia does give you is really good disengage to come through still. That seismic shove can stop the threats from coming in. And if ever, you kind of miss position, especially as that Victor more than that Zeri, if you get in range of the seismic shove forward, you can get popped by the sheer burst damage of that Talia here. No Wukong necessary.
Yeah, well, maybe Yu-Gi-Oh can disengage it, but we're about to engage on some shenanigans on the Rift here because, ladies and gentlemen, the game is underway. The stakes have been set. V3, this is realistically the best chance they're going to be getting for a while here to pick up their first win, to stop this tragic loss spree that it's felt like it's gone on for years. But it all comes down to this. I do want to say that, obviously, we talked about just the amount of backline access that V3 is going to have, but when you do face down a tanky team like this, it does kind of, it poses the question, what do you do if you end up falling behind, right? Because especially, it's like, if you can't poke them out and get them into a position where you can actually start taking fights, AXIZ is just they'll have no problem just muscling you off their turf. It's like, what are you going to do about it, right? Like, you do no damage.
Pretty much. I mean, at that point, you're in deep trouble because neither teams actually have much poke, Echo. You've got maybe the boomerang blade from Silver, a little bit of the Q from Talia to come through from V3 here, and for AXIZ, you've got Victor. That's about it. It really is all about that all-in, the engage there, and that's why for V3 you don't want to fall too far behind. But I wouldn't worry too much actually about V3 here, Echo, because their strong point of the game has been the early game. They actually look good pre-12 minutes. Generally speaking, they are ahead pre-12 minutes. The problem comes around that 14 and 15 minute mark where they tend to have that one big team fight where everything just goes south for them. And AXIZ, on the other hand, they just don't have a good early game, right? That's why their wins are always post 30 minutes here. They need the time to scale up, and their strength has always been team fighting. So while the composition fits their strength here, it also plays well into V3 style of play.
And I love seeing this, actually. You're opting to go on down into the jungle. They're placing that ward that's going to just give them so much information and allowing them to track Swamp, making sure that they don't fall prey to any kind of gank coming out from him. That's exactly what they need, especially when they want to go ahead and just speed run this game.
Yeah, the problem is, can they actually speedrun it, Echo? They always get the early parts well, and the problem's, the later parts, the mid to late, they can't actually finish the level here. They run out of lives before they get there. But yes, I do like the fact they are tracking Swamp here. They know fully well, and great ward from Dresscode and Hetzel. They're moving out. They didn't drop it early because they know that Swamp wouldn't be in that area. And now this bot lane's going to be safe. Your Sivir is allowed to just push out constantly. Again, we're on patch 12.13 here before Sivir's push gets nerfed. So if anything, V3 get prior on this bot side, and I would love to see Unica go back down there after this clear, look for that early 5-minute dragon, because it's unlikely AXIZ will contest with the lanes that they have.
Yeah, most likely. So we do see Unica going to go ahead and grab himself that crab, maybe look for something. Not going to opt instead. Just check the jungle, make sure that there are no camps, no free real estate for him to take. Noticing there's nothing there, probably just going to go ahead, hit that back. Actually does still have his Krugs available, so going to probably opt to go ahead for that, then maybe look to make his way down. But regardless, I have to wait and see for now.
Yeah, it'll be perfect timing for Unica there. By the time he clears his Krugs, goes back, goes down to Dragon. Now, Echo, it's worth noting, while today is a very exciting day in terms of the matches we have, very close matches across the board here, it's not been quite the bloodbath that we saw on Wednesday. We don't see quite as much early action. Teams have been taking their time to scale up, and while they've certainly delivered come the mid game here, I'm expecting this game to be kind of similar, where we're not going to see a ton of action early here. I think both junglers going to be farming up mostly, trying to hit that level 6. For the side of Unica, great, you're the Wukong, you want 6. For the side of AXIZ, I think that Swamp's just not going to find opportunities to gank, and I think V3 generally do a really good job of the first couple of wards here to deny enemy junglers. So Swamp, probably not going to be able to find too much despite looking for it.
Yeah, we do see Unica as well getting spotted out there by that ward that was placed by Swamp before heading on back. Don't think he doesn't have a clue there, so we'll be spotted out by that. Just gonna opt to go for the clear, and like you said, Raiden, probably not too many opportunities really presenting themselves here from either side. It honestly feels like with just a lot of preemptive warning. But Yu-Gi-Oh says, I don't need a gank, looking for some trade, getting a little bit of damage there, but those damn minions always getting in the way.
I gotta support my AXIZ friends. Right? I dropped a little tip on my buddies. Hey guys, you know, if you could get in the way of VGD, would appreciate it. Yeah, usually, I mean, it was a good seismic shove, but positioning wise, right, you gotta play that a little bit better. You can tell Megaman just wasn't worried whatsoever. If anything, Megaman's probably just more worried about mana now. Unica looking for something here, but actually gets spotted out by Swamp. And hey, if Swamp saw you, you saw Swamp. You certainly saw the Raptors moving here, so I'm not sure why Unica even decided to stick around.
Yeah, just gonna have to go ahead and grab him. So the control where they're gonna get traded by both junglers. Doesn't want to stick around too long, as you could already see, right? Ozuka was on the move here, looking to lend a little bit of proximity. Yeah, but they're gonna look to try and find him. Yeah, they do. Force Unica to back off here, and that's also in turn gonna force Yu-Gi-Oh to fall back as well. Meanwhile, on this top lane, Yellow Yoshi just doing Yellow Yoshi things, being a tanky boy. Tanking it up in that top lane, nothing too surprising there. And overall, it really has just been incredibly quiet here. 6 minutes in, not a single kill getting dropped. Can we get something done here? Come on, V3.
Nope, not at all. They didn't even go for Dragon. And I'm actually surprised, Echo, that they didn't go for Dragon. You saw that as soon as Dress Code showed up. Swamp was just like, okay, peace out. I can't be here. My bot lane is not as strong as your bot lane. I'll seed the Scuttle. And that probably means they would have seeded the Dragon as well here. So a little bit disappointed we didn't see V3 push for that. But you mentioned the top side, right? A little bit Echo there. We saw a little bit of trading come down. Props to Yellow Yoshi. Yellow Yoshi was actually up CS on Washide. And the CS advantage is to Washide right now, but that's just because he just shoved in a wave. Why does AXIZ get to do this?
It's looking like they do get to do it for free. I mean, there was so much vision everywhere, but there's just no one there from the side of V3 to punish it, right? Wukong or Unica up in that top side wouldn't have been able to make it down in time. And so ultimately, that's just going to be a free drag. And dude, that is so nice. Is Yellow Yoshi realizing, you know, he's probably going to be coming over that jungle looking for some free real estate. So he's not going to get that drag. Instantly drops the ward down. They're able to track Unica so nicely. Everyone gets to stay safe. And actually, it's looking like Swamp's about to head on up there. He's got to lay down the law here in this top lane. But Unica is going to use that blast cone and should be able to get out safely.
Yeah, and I am puzzled. I mean, it was a great read from AXIZ onto what Unica was doing. If Unica is not going for the dragon here, well, he's got to be on that top side of the map and looking for the invade. And yeah, I don't think blue buff for dragon is a worthwhile trade at all, especially now that AXIZ knows exactly where you are.
Yeah, no, definitely not the optimal trade to get there. But regardless, it's a trade nonetheless. A little bit of gold, as small as it is. You do. Meanwhile, here kind of stuck in a bit of a tight, tricky spot here. Swamp with the dash over the wall, just zoning Yu-Gi-Oh off from these minions. He is not allowed to farm. He's not allowed to have fun this game.
Yeah, and that's one of the things with Poppy, especially in the early game. I think people underestimate how much damage she does because, oh, Poppy's a tank, right? Tanks don't do damage. In the later game, true. In the early game, not so. Base damages for tanks tend to be very, very high. So in the top lane, you'll often see tanks, you know, winning out those early trades. Now, Swamp actively invading onto Unica here. This is the exact opposite of the bot side of the map, where it is heavily V3 favored. Top side is a little bit more in question, and because Yellow Yoshi has been able to match the Gnar so effectively here, we're seeing that Swamp gets to play aggressively, thinking that, hey, I can handle this Wukong in a 1v1 duel.
Yeah, just starting up. That Herald does not even care. The Vision Cone gets dropped. Megumin and Osaka are both there as well, and a quick rotation from Yellow Yoshi should, yeah, pretty much just confirm it that they do get themselves as Herald. Unica not even going to try to look for anything, just going to go ahead, back off, and keep farming. Doesn't want to risk anything. So ultimately, AXIZ, I mean, for a team that likes to take their time, they're looking pretty headstrong right now.
Yeah, they've been on top of these objectives here, Echo. If anything, I was expecting V3 to do this, and now Washida, you know Herald just went down. You do not get to be this far up river here.
Come on, bro. He is playing with death right now.
He's gonna face check this.
I think he's actually gonna face check it, and he might just pay the price, trying to bounce off of him. Bounces into the wall, and first to blood goes into the hands of Swamp. I mean, you tease death and you pay the price.
Yeah, this is one of those times where, okay, with Mininar, I always feel bad watching Mininar die. It's like, you know, watching a kid kind of get beat up because he's so small, he's so cute. It's even worse somehow when it's a Sejuani Poppy killing you because it's like, oh, it's a little kid. Oh, they're playing in a bounce house. There's lots of knockups here, and then like, oops, the kid got dropped.
He just got he didn't get dropped on him. See, he got slammed into the wall, absolutely taken out, just smothered to bits by a huge hammer. Like, it was a lot more nasty than you're trying to put it out to be, man. But I get what
I
you're
try to
trying
keep it
say.
PG-13, man.
Yeah, that's true. That's
PG-13.
fair. That's fair. You gotta keep it PG-13. But I mean, I'm trying to find a way to kind of justify Washidai, like straight up just face checking it when you literally just heard the dying screams of the Herald, but it is what it is. It happened. We can only live and learn.
You know, the opposite of love here isn't hate, it's animosity. So I can tell that you really love the B3 team. Your passion for them right now, Echo, is really burning.
Oh my God, yes. They are my favorite team right after Burning Core. I love them so much. I hope they can do this because what I just saw was definitely not what I'm hoping to see more of V3. We got to step it up here, but they still have plenty of time to get it done, and it's only one little measly kill, and it feels like they just gotta kind of find their spirit. You know what I mean? It's like they're known as this team that is so great the first 12 minutes, and you look the clock, we're already 11 minutes and 20 seconds in, and we have yet to see any plays coming out from V3 that are kind of characteristic for them.
Agreed, and that is definitely concerning here, Echo, because for V3, they have a lot of engaged tools, right? We've not seen the Wukong come through. Wukong ganks are pretty potent, especially once you hit that level 6, once you have that Cyclone. Hasn't come through whatsoever. Yu-Gi-Oh! Now level 10, and with the Talia Weaver's Wall, like any other global champion that you play in the mid lane, Twisted Fate, Galio, you want to be impacting your side lanes. Often your first ult is the most impactful. And even if you don't use it for ganks, what we've seen a lot of times is Talia using the Weaver's Wall to deny objectives. V3 hasn't even looked at an objective here. Both Dragon and Herald were completely passed up. They didn't even try and contest it. So a little bit worrying for the side of V3. We're not seeing the proactive action happen as we say that Yu-Gi-Oh clears out mid lane, is looking for the spot side.
Yep, we're gonna run down here. Swamp is stung to realizing they might just have to dip here, and nice to see that this time around they're not gonna get muscled off their turf with this dragon being up. We're gonna look to start it now. We're gonna wait before they start it up here. Gotta get that intel first, see what's going down. We're seeing a lot of pings into this mid lane here as Yu-Gi-Oh doing his best to try and shove these waves out, but he knows he's got to fall back, and they are going to go ahead and just drop the Herald down and give V3 the choice. Do you take care of the Herald and save your turret, or do you go for the Dragon? And optly so, they're going to go and opt to take out this Herald first. Oh, it hasn't crashed yet. It's really taking its time. Oh, come on. The keeper's verdict as well, just to make sure that Unica can't do anything. It's going to crash. Give them a few plates, and they actually don't even opt to start the drag. Meanwhile, on this top lane, Washida trying to find something on Yellow Yoshi, but doesn't quite have that damage yet. And Sanctu going in a little bit of a trade here with Dress Code. Overall, it's just back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, an interesting series of plays there. I like that AXIZ dropped the Herald mid to get pressure, but like he said, miscalculated a little bit. Herald doesn't charge. He actually burned Keeper's Verdict, which ideally you want to hold for that objective take to deny enemy jungler. They had to use it to disengage Unica or risk not having the Herald actually charge. So because of that, AXIZ don't want to go for Dragon. And for V3 as well, they had that move. Weaver's Wall could have cut off the bot lane, but Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't pull the trigger, and they end up pushed out. They should still have that priority though. The Wukong ultimate is still up. Weaver's Wall is still up as well. And Dress Code doing a great job pushing out. So the Dragon ultimately goes V3's way. Just a lot more painful than the process needed to be.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, the first step that we kind of need to see from V3 to start getting a stronger grip into this game here. Dragon going to go down into their hands, and now with 14 minutes, we're getting those enabled TPs coming through as well. I'm looking at Yellow Yoshi as well, who still has his available. Curious to see if he's going to find an opportunity to utilize it at some point.
Okay, Echo, as we see the rift change here, we are going to get an Ocean Drake map, and this is the second worst Drake for V3. If AXIZ can pick it up. Because remember we were talking about that super tanky front line.
Oh, no.
Poppy, Alza. Oh, yeah. You're saying, oh, no. Alza, oh, yeah, right now. Because if AXIZ can stack this, the best would have been Mountain Drake, of course, because that makes it ultra tanky. They won't get bursted down, but the Ocean does mean that they get sustained through the fights a lot more. And one of the things to remember with Ocean Drake as well is that it's actually better for tanky champions, not just because it's a percent health regeneration, but also because you live longer so that you can regenerate more. And that's going to make it harder on Dress Code. There's even more pressure now on Dress Code to be able to pump out enough damage. Kraken Slayer completed, and with that first mythic pickup, this is usually when Sivir starts win some of the trades in this bot lane.
Yeah, really curious to see the showing coming out from Herald up in 8 seconds as well. We saw a couple of pings to that arrow coming out here from AXIZ, and we are seeing V3 look at the pivot on over there as well. You can see Dress Code making his way on up into this mid lane here from a bot. Give it a little bit of proximity here as it is up. AXIZ is already at the plate. They're going to look to shove out this mid lane and then probably go for it, but only time will tell. Swamp has caught eyes on Unica, going to drop that control ward there and just kind of teasing him a little bit here. Both teams going to be looking for that engage, but for now, just going to be staring at each other.
Now, Echo, I like to joke minion lives matter because we kill a lot of minions, but this game I feel like control wards have had it worse. I don't think any control ward in the neutral territory or aggressive control ward has survived more than a minute right now. Only the defensive ones have.
Yeah.
And V3 clearing out the vision, like you said. You know, they're going for Herald now.
One team is looking like they're not going to survive either, because I think we have a bit of a scuffle on our hands here in a minute. Megan and Yellow Yoshi are coming from that backline. They do get spotted out, looking to go in here now. Bit of damage coming out, waiting for that cycle, but there's that Keeper's Verdict knocking away Washidai as he goes into rage mode. He's a big boy. Hatel just barely getting out of that one alive. The Cyclone getting dropped, buying some time, and overall, no one actually is going to die. I thought for sure that we'd see at least one member go down, but at the end of the day, it was just a not so peaceful protest, but a non-lethal one.
True. And I saw you too. I go, no shot, nobody dies here. That is incredible and really well played from both of these teams to manage to disengage. I love that Rashide managed his rage bar so effectively, but Swamp just yeeted him out right before he went mega. And I think that was actually what saved the fight for AXIZ there, because the engage was a little bit sloppy when it comes into it here. So if you watch how AXIZ engage, first of all, note that Yellow Yoshi's not even in this fight right now. So he's taking a long time to come up. V3 just can't take the Herald quick enough here. And the moment Yellow Yoshi comes up, Megumin starts going on. Yu-Gi-Oh's looking to disengage. Perfect Gnar bar in terms of raising that. And Swamp goes in, but Swamp goes in kind of alone. There isn't follow-up damage there. So Hetzel gets low and doesn't die, and then Washide manages to come back in, and because he got disengaged early, he's full health when he comes back Mega Gnar. So because of that, neither team can quite find the finishes they need on multiple members there, and that does not bode well for V3 as this game continues to go up, because those tanks are going to get a lot tankier, and your sustain damage is likely to be lacking here.
Yeah, and definitely also in such a comp that we talked about where you're protecting Mr. President, you're protecting Mr. Dress Code, who's looking to pump out all that damage. Just yeeting away Washidai like that makes it so much harder for Dress Code to stay out of the line of fire. And we saw, right, he wasn't able to output as much damage as I'm sure he wanted to. But this Herald is doing quite a bit of work here. It's going to crash. They get that second crash into the mid turret as well. And so that turret is looking pretty worse for wear.
Yeah, and this is also bad for V3 in that they've now lost control of this mid lane. Generally, mid lane outer turret considered the most important outer turret because it controls vision access to the river here. And when you lose the mid lane especially, the opposing team can kind of cut you off and you can't rotate freely between top and bottom. I highlight this, Echo, because Dragon's coming up in 30 seconds, and we've been harping on this Ocean Soul here. So AXIZ now can try and cut off the access from V3 from the mid lane, even from the mid-side jungle here, and V3 might have to come in from the bot side, but we just have to watch one flank here. Well, we've seen what happens. You can't cut through that front line just yet, even with that Kraken Slayer for V3, so it becomes doubly, triply hard to try and even look to contest Dragon, much as try and steal it away.
Yeah, flash Cyclone. There's that Weaver's Wall we were talking about, though. Finally, we're seeing these objectives being utilized here, and down goes the first member. Megumin gonna eat the dust. Swamp gonna go down as well. Look at that damage coming out from Dress Code. The boomerangs are flying. The damage is coming out, and down goes Ozuka as well.
So low.
There's the V3 I was talking about. But Seichu coming in through that backline with the Blicky here, giving him the burst fire of a lifetime. The flash to get away from Unica. Actually huge. We do see, though, Shilpo getting procced here. Gotta be careful. He needs to keep his distance from dress code. If Sanction wants to let the flash coming out, though, dress code puts him in the dirt, baby. That's what we like to see. V3, just like that, they finally understand the assignment. They utilize those key abilities that we talked about, and they turn the fight in their favor, grab themselves the dragon, and all of a sudden, they're looking pretty damn good.
They needed that so badly, Echo. They are barely 300 gold up after that fight. They were falling that far behind. And like you said, they have all the engage tools in the world. So the moment you see that somebody's away, even if they have teleport, just pull the trigger. It's that easy with the numbers advantage they have. Megaman's dead before he can effectively do anything at all. And great body block by dress code as well. I want to highlight that, using the spell shield to stop the Keeper's Verdict. Because if Swamp had gotten the Keeper's Verdict off, the fight swings AXIZ's way. Multiple people knocked away here. And despite the fact that they had that, Sangchu almost turned it. Holds everybody off 1v4 here. Granted, it only gets worse for Sangchu here because Sivir's damage does increase. And like we said, Sivir tends to win that 1v1. But the fact that Sangchu held on as long as he did is an issue, and just shows, you know, the protect the president composition might not just swing one way. For AXIZ as well, as long as their AD carry is alive, they can look to do that. The same thing.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in this top lane here, we do see Yu-Gi-Oh! Gonna have to go gold there, dodging a lot of damage coming out. Unica trying to find something. Cyclone up again, and oh no, the Keeper's Verdict, away he goes. Gonna push Washida into the wall. They're actually gonna look to turn this thing around, but can they find it? I don't think they will. Not gonna have enough damage to set. As much as Megumin wants to run him down, those robo legs aren't gonna get him where he's trying to be.
I love how all these fights, Echo, are becoming 5v5 or 4v5 fights, because Yellow Yoshi did the right thing, didn't attend the fight, just kept pushing that mid lane. But because everybody's so tanky and the damage is lacking on both teams, it's buying enough time for everybody to just slowly pile into these fights here. And, you know, we just highlighted that Jescode's going to have problems cutting through that front line. Sangchu right now, with their Immortal Shield Bow, can't hack it either.
Yeah.
Like, we're seeing Washida get away. We're seeing Unica too, you know, able to pump out more damage, I suspect, right now than that Zeri, despite being down 100 CS in comparison. So a bit of an issue here for both teams, and it's only 5 kills so far, but it feels like so much more has happened.
Yeah, it really does. Parent is up at the moment. Ozaka and Swamp once again just going on a little adventure here into V3's jungle, clearing out some vision, placing some of their own. It's not going to be control wards, so maybe those will survive a little bit longer in comparison. As Megumin gonna go ahead and grab himself this top tier 1 year, open up that map even wider for AXIZ. And so V3, even though they had a promising showing there at that fight just a few minutes prior, they still have a lot of work on their plate if they want to close this game out.
Yeah, the macro from V3 hasn't been particularly good, and
yeah,
to be honest, that's not V3's strength anyways here. Now that the mid lane lost that inner turret, we already touched on the strength of the outer turret. To lose your inner turret before your outers in the side lane goes down just exacerbates matters. That's why we saw that V3 didn't even try and defend that top side. You can get flanked, you can get dove. Now I expect to see AXIZ just rotate and do the exact same thing on the bottom side of this map. That outer turret is really low as well, but for now, in the 1v1, Washidai enjoying this despite being a level down. Range advantage will be able to hold this bot lane till AXIZ get more members down there.
Yeah, if they are looking to sacrifice here, that puts your power, sends some members down. It's looking like they will indeed. Megumin already on the way there. I'm not sure he's going to reach the turret in time, though. It's going to be close. Nah, not going to get able to. Is gonna go down. He's just gonna let the minions do the work. Dude, cool guys don't look at explosions, man. He just walks off and lets the turret fall. He's got the sunglasses on and everything.
Did he get the gold though? The local gold?
I hope he did. I hope he did.
I mean, like, cool guys don't look at explosions, but cool guys also sometimes are broke. So, you know, you kind of got to balance it there. Oh, Washida.
Oh, no. And cool guys might be dead, too, if he's not careful. Swamp Ozaka already waiting in this bush. Washida has 6 cents kicking in. And with that ward getting a drop, they're actually not going to opt to try and go for the kill. Just going to let them go and make sure that they secure themselves this turret here. I've seen a lot of movement, though, from the V3 side over at this Baron, but it's looking like they're just going to place down some vision, not actually going to opt to try and take it. And with this drag being up in 45 seconds as well, it is understandably so. You don't want to forfeit that over to AXIZ any day of the week.
Yeah, that's. I mean, for V3, at least the good thing is they did secure that Ocean Drake earlier, so it's not like AXIZ are stacking Drakes incredibly quickly here.
Yeah.
So you can give over this dragon. It's not the end of the world, but you don't want to. You want it for yourself, of course. It's not going to be quite as effective without as much tankiness, but it does help. And we've already seen that, hey, the low damage that AXIZ had in the last couple of fights meant that people live longer. You can potentially regenerate longer, though. That will change soon. And now AXIZ threatening to just barrel down the mid lane. I'm actually curious to see if AXIZ decides to just say, hey, we're okay sacking the dragon. Ooh, that hit 4 people. And just hard shove the mid lane, threaten the inhibitor turret instead.
Yeah, definitely. I will say, obviously, Unica does have that flash cyclone available. We've been seeing him utilize that constantly to get in, start those fights up. But when you look at those health bars from V3, especially on the members who are supposed to be protecting the president here, they are pretty low. We see the Weaver's Wall getting dropped. Actually going to go ahead and section off Swamp and Yellow Yoshi. That could be huge. The dragon is going to go into the hands of V3 once again. And now the fight maybe as well if they can find something here in this back lane here. Swamp and Unica. We see the Devourer coming out to keep him protected. As Washington needs to back off. He's a big boy, but he's not big enough. Unica has to go gold. He's in a real bad spot. Dress code. It's time to step up, baby. Got to put some damage on the board here. They find themselves a 1-for-1 trade. Got to grab themselves another kill. And now Dress code is going to be leading the charge. The flash comes out. The kills are coming out too. Can they find this huge abyssal dive coming through? Down he goes as well. Down Megumin goes as well. And V3 are looking to get that first win today here, ladies and gentlemen.
Can they actually do it, Echo? It's looking like it. Another one team fight. Massive. Dress code just untouched, and now, despite jungler down, they can look at Baron. Unica is likely to respawn in time to pick it up as well. The buff, that is not the Baron here, and with no members of AXIZ on the board, this is the best V3 have looked since day one when they almost beat AXIZ the first time.
Yeah, 26 minutes in. This team was known for just kind of throwing after 12 minutes, as we do get to see the replay here. This is what we're talking about. This is what we wanted to see since like since level 6 arrived, right? We wanted to see these key abilities being used, and we see here as well. Watch that as well, dodging that Keeper's ready, and that Weaver's Wall perfectly, sectioning Swamp and Yellow Yoshi off as well, so that they can just get that drag, get enough damage in, so that once this team fight starts happening, they have that HP advantage and they're able to get the job done. And I mean, just look at that dress code. He can just chill in the back lane. It's protect Mr. President. He's got these 4 beefy bodyguards there for him, and he can just do all the damage in the world that he wants. Picks up those 2 kills, goes for the flash auto, gets that as well, and then look at the abyssal dive. I mean, mwah, chef's kiss right there. The cleanse comes out, but you can't cleanse the knockup, baby, and then down he goes.
Yeah, and dress code. And then entire fight, you were talking about protect the president. The president did need protection, so the Secret Service could start looking to kill people. Like, okay, wait, that's a really bad comparison. But nevertheless, I mean, for V3,
I get what you mean.
There's just no threat on dress code there. They were able to just seek out, punish Megumin and Sangshu in that fight. And dress code, yeah, it's taken some time to cut through that front line, but look, Lord Dominic's regard already picked up here, Echo. And we already said before, Sivir is able to cut through a front line. Despite how tanky it is, she's probably still one of the best tank busters in the game here. So it's starting to hit the point where this is becoming a problem. Dress code is an issue. AXIZ needs to assign someone to burst down that Sivir or watch as they lose these fights.
Yeah, overall, good showing so far from V3, but it isn't over till it's over. And so, you know, AXIZ, they are known for taking these games out, stalling them out long, and then winning at the end. And so maybe they're going for that long con play. So regardless, V3 still has their work cut out for them as Swamp looking for something here. He's tanky, but he's going to be tanky enough. The Abyssal Dive does come out as well, and it's going to be just A-okay. Overall, not going to find too much. The siege potential coming through here from V3, but AXIZ is there, ready to step up to the plate, keep those turrets protected. I mean, we're 28 minutes in, and that mid-tier 1 is still standing. There's just not a lot of room, really, it feels like, for V3 to move on the map until they take that key objective out.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to push into a Victor Zeri. Victor's got great wave clear, and Zeri's got a lot of range to be able to push through, as well as an auto, or a Q, basically, which serves as an auto, which can punch through multiple targets at the same time. And you've got a Sivir on the side of V3, which is a paradoxical AD carry for pushing. She's great at pushing those waves, but her range means that it's actually hard for her to actually hit the turrets. So she's getting the waves there. She's not getting the damage onto the turrets too effectively.
Yeah, I liked Yu-Gi-Oh's positioning there, looking like he was maybe waiting to see if he can get an opportunity to use that Weaver's Wall, try and section some members of AXIZ off. But at the end of the day, it's not even going to be needed as they're able to just siege down that mid-tier 1. And now this next drag, it's going to be Soul if V3 can pick it up. It's up in 50 seconds. We're seeing the resets coming through from V3, grabbing some more items, grabbing some more drip, because this next fight is going to be crucial for them.
Oh my goodness, Echo. I'm trying to do some quick cluster math right now. If every Baron you take 1 turret for the side of V3, you need 1, 2, 3, 4 more.
No.
You see where I'm going with this, Echo?
Do you know how long we're gonna be here, dude? No, please.
I mean, it took 50 minutes on day 1. And that was an AXIZ win. If V3 want to win, this might take over an hour. We might set a new record. We'll have to see how it goes here. But Dragon will come up first, so the action will keep ticking even if the game takes forever.
Yep, and so it is here now. A lot of damage coming out. Unica getting lower and lower, though. Sanctu getting so many free hits in, but so is Dress Code. He's got to take out Yellow Yoshi. Sanctu is really online as well, but he's not quite finding. Oh, huge ultimate coming through, though, from Washi Dai. That's exactly what they needed. All the members of AXIZ are falling. Megumin about to eat the dirt as well. Swamp getting onto Dress Code. Goes gold. Mr. President, get down! He's still going to take out, though, what? He will trade his life, and at the end of the day, AXIZ completely falls, and V3 only loses 2 members.
They did it, Echo. They did it. AXIZ killed Dress Code, but at what cost? It took them everything. Yeah, literally everything. Swamp, with his dying breath, killed Dress Code. And right now, I don't know what is happening in these last couple of days, Echo, but the AD carries that traditionally have not performed terribly well here in the LJL have been popping off. We saw Marble today, get a penta on the Sivir as well. We see Yuhi last week, perform incredibly well as well. And now, this time, it's Dress Code's turn, absolutely popping off. Sivir is just such a busted champion.
It's actually insane. I mean, all those free hits that were coming out. Look at that ulti from Washi Dai. That is so huge. Getting that 2-man stun, allowing Dress Code to do Dress Code thing. They run down Megumin. Dress Code going gold, buying enough time. The spam ping's probably coming like, please help me, please. And then they finally get him as well. And like you said, right, at what cost? They used their lives to destroy their lives, not the stones this time around, man.
Yeah, and despite all of this, despite Soul, despite Baron, despite the push, V3 are only at a 4,500 gold advantage, Echo. True. This is not over by any means. AXIZ have ways of coming back into this game, namely getting Dress Code out the fight early. We saw Megumin's Chaos Storm as well as the laser actually chunk out Dress Code and push Dress Code out. It's just that Dress Code managed to sustain back into the fight, wasn't touched for the rest of it. If they just had a little bit more follow-up, they could do it, but who can follow up here, Echo? Yellow Yoshi can't get past the front line. Swamp can't get past the front line. And even if they could, you saw how little damage Swamp actually did, right? Like early, we said early game, base damage is high. Late game, no damage from tanks. And Sanctu sure as hell can't actually cut through that many individuals to reach Sivir.
Yeah, I feel that the Keeper's Verdict is going to play a huge and just absolutely pivotal role in this next fight, because it's like you said, right, it's so incredibly hard to get onto Dress Code. But I mean, we've seen if you can get like a decent 1 to 2 man knockback, get him really far away, and then try and get on top of Dress Code, you take him out. That's pretty much 80% of V3's damage is gone. I mean, we saw in that damage graph, right, of damage dealt in that last fight. I'm pretty sure Dress Code was at like 7K, and no one was even like close to him by a far margin.
Yeah, I think he almost doubled everybody else's damage here. Like that, so not even close to 50%. That is definitely an issue. But that Keeper's Verdict sort of situation you're mentioning, Echo, it's been tried. Swamp has been trying to do it. Sure. And V3 have just been really good about not clumping multiple of their front lines together so that you can only knock one person away. And even throughout all of that, keep in mind, Unica has been doing actually a massive job along with Yu-Gi-Oh in terms of causing chaos, right? Like, yeah, sure, even if you do manage to eat away some of the front line, you're still stuck between peeling or not peeling. Sanctu and Megumin especially has really been targeted down in these fights, and Megumin doesn't have the mobility that Sanctu has to get out. So the moment the Victor goes down, a lot of that damage from AXIZ is gone as well. And granted, it's not necessarily sustained damage, but right now it's not sustained damage you need. It's the burst damage of Victor you need to kill Sivir.
Meanwhile, you see V3 looking, trying their damnedest to start taking out some more of these turrets. They want those tier 2 gone as well. And I mean, understandably so, right? They're just limiting their mobility right now with a lot of these turrets still standing. And with that Baron being up as well, we're seeing the resets coming through from V3. I'd be very surprised if we don't see some pivoting coming through for them to try and at least set up for this Baron.
I'm telling you, Echo, one Baron, one turret, man. Or one objective, one turret. They took Dragon and they got a turret as well. But it's taken an eternity. V3, they're playing this really measured, which I understand, right? Like, you've been struggling to find your first win of the entire season. Your closest chance you had was against this very team on day one, like we keep harping on. And you threw it because you tried to push a little bit too hard and got punished. So V3, they're taking this nice and slow, and it's working in that AXIZ don't have an opportunity. If you're going to these open fights, if you're going for these 5v5s, we've seen, like we said, AXIZ are struggling for backline access, and in an open area like that, it's actually really hard as well when V3 have the vision set up to look for any sort of flank. So it's a slow chokeout, but it's an effective one here. And for AXIZ, I wonder what's going through their minds here. Are they feeling stressed about this, or are they comfortable going to the late game? Because they've been to the late game a lot, and they do have some strong scaling with the Victor and Zeri here. It's just, if you keep losing all of these team fights and you're 4 and 14, they don't know the goal difference. It probably feels a lot bigger, and you're facing down an Ocean Soul. Like, is this maybe when we start seeing them make some aggressive plays that might backfire?
Yeah, it's kind of terrifying when you think about it. It's like you're doing so well. You look over at AXIZ, they're all just like smirking at you. They're like, yeah, you're doing great, man. Keep it up. Like we've got you right where we want you, man. Keep it going. Come on, you got this. Oh, I love that. I love that Weaver's Wall so much, actually. And they should be able to get that free Baron. Yeah, they grab it.
Yeah,
that was. I mean, that Yu-Gi-Oh, my guy. That was textbook. That was perfect. I love that so much. That was such a nice, clean play, making sure that no one can enter the river. They don't, you don't even have to worry about a fight breaking out if they can't get to you in the first place.
100%. And they don't have that many tools to get over the wall. Megumin certainly doesn't unless he wants to burn Flash. Ironically, though, it actually wasn't needed. AXIZ had the weirdest reset timings I've seen. Sangshu was coming out of base when Baron was being taken. Like, AXIZ couldn't have contested it anyways. They seeded that effectively for free. So that's worrying for AXIZ that they, I was saying that, I wonder what's going through their minds. Apparently not much, because that is an absolute problem when you're not aware of the fact that, hey, we could lose Baron. It's 36 minutes in. Baron is not that tanky anymore.
Yeah, no, that is not indeed. And they paid excuse me, gosh, I gotta speak. I'm so lost as well. It's like I can't even. I'm trying to comprehend what happened there. And already we're seeing right in this bot lane, Yu-Gi-Oh is going to be taking their one Baron turret. Right, he's going for that bot tier 2, going to secure himself that one. And now maybe they look to find another couple of kills here that we were getting dropped. The flash cyclone going in, gonna be huge. Double knockup, a lot of damage coming out. Dress code in that backline. Keep your eyes on him. He's getting a triple. Can he get that penta, baby? Not quite gonna get the penta, but at the very least, they're gonna get the 4-man. It's the quadra kill. The dress code for today's business meeting is war paint and the blood of your enemies, because V3 grabbed themselves the ace, and they're looking to just run this base down. And I think they have the time for it, RMC. This might be the day we witness where V3 finally break the curse. They're going to go ahead and just take the turrets. They don't care. They smell the wind. They smell the blood in the water. And ladies and gentlemen, you bore witness to V3 grabbing themselves their first win in what felt like ages.